This is The Righteous View with your hosts, Adia Baez, Deborah Hoskins, and Christina McCormick.
All right, y'all. We are live.
This
We are
is The Righteous View
let me
with
turn
your
my intro off. We are waiting on our co-host. Y'all know it is she lives in Ghana. So y'all know how drama is with the electricity um and the internet. So she may come in, but we're gonna flow. This may be really organic because this topic is very vast. So we're definitely gonna have different parts, but let's jump right into the script. The script. Welcome to the Righteous View. Our weekly podcast will focus on topics regarding women of all ages. Our mission is to foster righteous, open dialogue on topics that have been taboo within our social communities. We want to cultivate open and healthy discussions between mothers and daughters, husbands, wives, mature women, and young women. Our goal is to educate and provide factual information to these demographics concerning our biological, psychological, and spiritual existence. Now we're going to introduce our other co-host, Sister Deborah Hoskins.
Hey, good evening, good evening. Thank you, my dear sister Tina, Christina. We want to encourage you, good evening. We want to encourage you to tune in weekly every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, every Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for thought provoking topics that will hopefully stimulate conversations that are sometimes hard and uncomfortable.
Yes. Bailey, you might have to mute. I'm hearing echo. Anybody else hearing echo? Or is it just me?
I don't hear it.
Is it me? Is it me?
I'm muted.
No, I don't hear echo.
So there you go, Mela. But when we put you on, maybe we'll mute when you talk because now I don't hear it. Okay. So we are live on Facebook at Hebraic Awakening and The Righteous View. If you miss a podcast, you can view it and past podcasts on our YouTube channels at The Righteous View and Hebraic Awakening. If you enjoyed the topics and the discussions have helped you in any way, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification button. Oh, here come here she come. Hold on, y'all. Soon as we finish that, let's see if she can. Let's see. There you go. Yay.
Yes! No, I forgot about the time change. I hate the US in that. They're the only ones in the world. The only ones in the world.
Yeah.
In the world. And I'm still sitting here with rollers in my head. Just downstairs making my little shots, my little energy shots with cucumbers and stuff. And I'm just chilling out. Got worship music on. I'm going to be ready.
Look, you live on Facebook taking your curlers. I mean, on YouTube taking your curlers.
I know.
Look, this how we roll, y'all. We're very organic. I'm sorry. This is what you're gonna get.
Hi, Mayla.
Y'all just have to roll
Oh
with
my
us.
gosh, I am so sorry. I came upstairs and I saw the information on WhatsApp and I thought, why are they on now? Christine said she was going to be late. And then I thought, oh, shucks.
See
Okay.
that, y'all? We
I
don't.
just, the time change.
We forgive you. We forgive you.
Thank you so much.
And I'm just talking away and realize I'm on mute.
This is an interesting show, Mayla. We're usually not like this. We're usually a lot more professional than this.
Woo. Well, we've done the
Well, we want you to feel comfortable,
where
Mela.
are
We
we?
want you to feel comfortable.
So we're about to introduce Mayla. I know she can't stay long, so
Okay.
we're gonna have her kind of go first.
Okay.
Well,
And this
kind
is
of give her bio. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna introduce her and give the bio. And
Yeah.
and you all, this is going to be in different segments as we talk about
Yes.
womanhood, because they
Absolutely.
hear us repeat this because our special needs population are getting married, they are having children, they go through menopause. They
That's right.
have to be a part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
All right, so let me introduce Layla. All right,
Yes.
let me find. Let me find. I hear an echo. I wonder, is it me? Is it me? No, that's Mayla. So I think when Mayla goes, we are going to mute, but I still kind of
Okay.
hear it. I'm trying to see if
I
it.
just I just muted mine and
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep going, and then I'm gonna mute because maybe it's me. Okay, our professional panelist tonight is Mayla McCormick, who has a MD in psychiatry and has extensive experience with school age children. So let me read my baby's bio. This is my daughter. Does she look like me? Yes.
yeah,
Let me pull up the bio. I will read my baby's bio.
that's right. Read it.
With a bachelor's degree in psychology and certification as a registered behavior technician, she brings valuable expertise in supporting children with verbal, physical, and mental needs. Drawing from extensive hands on experience, she is dedicated to creating positive learning environments that foster growth, communication, and independence. She's passionate about making meaningful connections with combined evidence based strategies, with empathy and patience to help children reach their full potential. And my baby, she got a raise and another position.
Yes.
You
Hi,
go,
hello
girl.
everybody. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I just got off work.
Yeah.
Well, we understand.
But basically I started working in the field of ASD in 2020 and I blindly went into it. I always wanted to work with kids, but I never had the interest or knew how ASD was growing because it's not really talked about. Um But since working there, I've learned a lot about children's ASD and I use a lot of their skills in my life now, like patience, calming down strategies, routines, and everything. So in the updated DSM, they changed autism because it was all talked about as just one thing, whether they were severely autistic or it was traits where you couldn't really tell they're autistic until you sat down and talked to them. So they divided it into 3 levels. Level 1 is just difficulties with social interaction, communication difficulties. They're interested in really little to nothing, but for the most part, they can function independently. Level 2 would be severe difficulties in social communication, no interest in peers. They tend to have repetitive behaviors that you could notice that they have ASD. So, like hand clapping, pacing back and forth, humming, shaking. That's how people typically figure out a kid has ASD. They have limited verbal communication. Most of the time, they can be nonverbal and they require significant support throughout their life. And then level 3 is intense difficulties in social communication. Their repetitive behaviors are all day, all night. Sometimes it um, like distracts them from sleeping and everything. They're more than likely going to require assistance their whole life. And in my field or my clients right now, I work with mainly level 3 children with ASD. So a lot of my clients, they use a device which is like an iPad, and we download an app so they can talk to us. But they have to learn a routine. They have to get used to a change in communicating their needs because they're not mainly required at home to communicate their needs. They're basically just handed whatever. Here's this, here's the phone. Oh, you're crying, you must want to eat. They're not really sat down and taught, hey, I want to eat, so I need to either sign eat or use it on my talker. So we get a lot of behaviors, and I would say mainly getting them to communicate because it's not really required of them mainly. I also work in school and home settings. My school client, she is, I would say, level 3. She has been diagnosed also with a verbal communication disorder, so she cannot speak in sentences. She can't structure sentences properly, mainly. She works in school, but she requires a lot of assistance, staying focused, keeping quiet in the classroom, and learning how to communicate what she wants. And then I also work with a level 1 client who just received services. And it's difficult. I think I'm having more trouble trying to connect with the level 1 client because off the bat, you can't tell he has ASD. He's very independent. He's very interested in other peers, what they're doing. He likes to play Fortnite and Call of Duty and all that. He plays football for like a rec team. And he also goes to a regular school, rides the bus, goes on field trips by himself. So I'm having difficulties okay, so you have been recently diagnosed with ASD, so it's different. The world seems different to you. And I can pick up asking him questions. He doesn't really know how to communicate or respond back to an actual question without getting off topic. When peers are doing something that he's never seen before, he is very verbatim. He's like, why is that kid over there doing that? So he's very honest, very verbatim. And it's just all about learning the client and getting them to understand, help them understand, because they don't know. They don't, and they have a hard time communicating themselves. So it's just all around. It's a very interesting field. I feel like the more as years go by, more things are coming up. Plan of care are coming to help us work with these children. Yeah, so that's basically.
That was good. I know people may have questions later on, so make sure you all put your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure they get answered if we can answer it. I know she just got off work, so she's tired. Working with special needs, it's draining because it's emotionally draining, like nursing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So go ahead, right?
I did want to ask. Oh, go ahead. Oh.
Deborah.
Yeah, I just it may be similar. What my question was, because something that Mela said, she said that normally at home they're just given what they want. They don't have to address what they want. They don't have to let they just give it. They just point or whatever, but they don't have to. So as what you said it, and that's a good point. Reason being is that what my question is, what do you recommend as those, as a parent at home with that, with that child with this special need? What do you recommend? Because though you're doing it in that setting that you're in, wouldn't it help that parent, that child within their household, to kind of help in in how you're doing it in the professional, in the setting that you're doing it, where it can be, whereas trying to think of the word, I would say it would be helpful that they would learn it even where they're not going back and forth. At home it's just given to them, and then they come back to you, and now they're learning that process. And where a parent can be assistant to helping, and it would be more helpful even to that child, I would say, if that, is brought even into the home life, in essence. Maybe training the parent also of how to do it, where that child is consistent. Like you said, they need to, it has to be consistency with them. So, that was my question.
So for the ABA services, I work under something that's called a BCBA, a supervisor. They offer parent training to the client's parents. The difficult thing about that is we're not really in home with them after clinical hours, so we don't know if everything is actually being used. So it's up to the parent to, do their part and make sure that they are helping their child communicate. I know it can be difficult at times, but if they want to see their child grow and become, slightly more independent in life, they have to also put the necessary steps in. A lot of times we do see, declined behavior at home, but increased positive behavior in the clinic. And then typically that's when we would start to move in their sessions in home to help in home during hours.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Mela, thinking about, their I guess their medical regimen, how is that? I mean, does how would the team come together to know what kind of meds and how young would meds be administered to, you know, a special needs child? Say if they find out they're special needs and they're 2 years old.
Right.
Um,
They changed the requirements for testing for ASD to, I believe, about 2.5, almost 3. So, and it also takes a long time to get a child tested for ASD because it's so popular now. Everyone's getting their child tested for ASD. So it takes a
mhm.
long time to get it. So by the time a child is actually diagnosed with autism, they're typically about 3, 4, 4.5, reaching school age. So they go through all this tests, and then um, if they have been diagnosed with other disorders such as like pica, where they eat chalk or dirt, ADD, OCD, they do receive medication for those instances. A lot of times it helps in a way, but if they're not consistent on their medication, it increases their behaviors that come with autism. So typically it's whatever their psychiatrist who prescribed the medicine wants to do with, if they want to prescribe their medicine or not. We don't really have a say because we're more in the field of like behavior modification. So behavioral and education for the most part.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's funny you should mention children eating chalk and dirt. So, Deborah, you know what? About half of the kids when we were kids would have been diagnosed.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking.
Dirt. We were
It-
all
it's
dirt,
chalk.
chalk, and eating glue.
Hello.
Remember that glue we used to eat in school? Yeah.
Smell glue.
I'm glad that that there was finally a diagnosis
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
for
Right.
that.
But truly, on a personal note, my son and I believe Avia, and I think I mentioned it to both of you all. He was I guess about 3, that he wasn't talking. But something that I do want to bring out, since we're talking in regards to autism, is that I remember when my son was like before a year old, he was saying words. And people, there, it's questionable. People say, well, and I remember when he had gotten emulated, vaccinated,
Okay.
I saw regression. went after certain vaccinations, because I do remember at 9 months he was saying dad dad and different things, and then he wasn't saying any words. And it wasn't that he was he was very active, he made noise, but he didn't talk. And so he was over 2 and he wasn't talking, and he was a pretty tall kid. At 2 years old he looked like he was almost 5, because he was pretty tall for. And he was a very happy going child, but he didn't talk. So I think just maybe he was about 3 or maybe 2ish, I did have him tested. And the pathologist had, through this, first it was to check his hearing, but I didn't think he had a hearing issue, because if he loved commercials, he can be all the way in the back room, and if a commercial came on and I would test it with the sound, he hear that commercial, he go running up to that commercial. So I knew it wasn't his hearing. His hearing was good, and even he got tested for hearing, and it was no problem with his hearing. So they did extensive testing on him, and then the pathologist, they had diagnosed him with autism. That's what they had diagnosed him with. And because he wasn't talking, so they gave me a list of where he can go for you know to be to help him, in essence. And I didn't want to be that parent to be naive, like, oh, this is not my child. If indeed he does, I want the best help for him. And so, but the thing of it, behavior, he was a really good child. He just didn't really talk, but he, certain motor, they, go by the motor skills and certain things. And this is some of the things that I think, as we are talking, that we have to be watchful of our kids. And there are certain things at certain ages, that certain things that they should be doing. If they're not doing it at these certain ages, then these are times when you look at, and you start to get them tested. You don't be naive in it, in essence. Well, moving on, when he was tested, and then as I was looking for the particular program that I had given a list for him to go to, I prayed about it. And I said, Father, whatever one. And I wound up going to the last place, which was the perfect place that I felt. And they really, and their motto was, we do with love, or something in that aspect. But all in all, he was given, because then eventually it was speech delay, but they said it was a form. So I was thinking it might have been, as they were saying, or maybe somewhat but as you said, the stage 1, as you said, certain things, and he might have been somewhat on that part, but he just was nonverbal at the time. But then just before he was 5 years old, the first thing he did was spell. He didn't talk, he spelled. And that's how I knew he could speak, because of spelling. But he was also, and these are certain things that I just also wanted to mention, because they may be diagnosed as autism. It doesn't lack with their intelligence, because they can be very intelligent. It's just other things that they, So, but in all, eventually, I was on prayer, and I believe that, he was healed in essence. But I'm not saying that for all children, but he's an adult now, he's almost 40 years old, and he thrived wonderfully after he talked. And then he went into a special, in certain areas, and then he went into mainstream and everything, and eventually he was fine. He was no longer diagnosed or under that spectrum, so, but I'm just saying that as a parent, as a young child, I when you see certain things, like I said, he didn't talk, but he did start. And sometimes, and I will say, and people say that, some say it could be from, a lot of times autism can be from the combination of the vaccination that they're giving children, and I seen a difference, but I believe he overcame it, but I'm not saying that for all children, because I have other family members who have children, who are, who have autism, and some are not even verbal, or very hyper, and having a bit of both, the autism and the ADHD, kind of the both, because you can have, more than one of the things, So I just wanted to bring that up.
I remember there were a couple of people who, mothers I had dealt with, who they have adult autistic sons, and both have that same story that they were talking, they were, moving around, doing just normal children. And then when they went for that, I think it was their 24-month vaccination, that's when they started regressing. One even went back and had to just stop using the bathroom. They had to put them back in diapers or Pampers. And another still doesn't talk to this day. He plays the drums for the ministry, and but he does not talk at all. But he was talking before he got that shot. So I have heard a couple of other stories that sound just like that.
Yeah, a lot of environmental factors can play a part into ASD too. Also, high developmental skills at a young age is people don't think that it's something that they should look out for if their kid is already tending to walk earlier than they should, or mumbling sounds earlier than they should, and then they just stop out of nowhere. That is also a sign, such as like tiptoeing, spacing at a young age, a lot of humming at a young age, food regression, not eating certain foods that they should be eating. All those signs kind of play into whether a parent should get their child tested for ASD or not too.
Wow.
So, Mila, how you gave us the age, but I just want to ask quickly, but about how long of a period of time should a parent, because you said now it's like everybody's getting their children tested, about how long is that time, like appointment from the time you call till you're able to actually have them tested normally?
Mainly it just depends on how booked the appointment is. Sometimes I know with ABA services, it can take a child almost a year to get approved for services because they have to go through like Medicaid, Blue Shield. A lot of insurance companies, they deny a child services because of certain reasons. They deny the child having like assistance in school just because they're under like a Blue Shield Act or whatever. So it's mainly dependent on the state, like insurance, doctor's office, which is sad because those children, they need to get tested and they need to get services as soon as possible. But for ABA, they are able to receive services from 2.5 to most cases up to 21 years old. And then after that, they do have, I don't know if there's many, but I know we do have adult clinical services that help children with ASD. They help them socialize. They go out in public with them. They go to their house, help them with their daily routines and everything. So there is ways for people with ASD to still receive services outside of the age category, which is, I think, is helpful too, because adults, they struggle with ASD also. So, and then as an adult, I feel like you're not, people start to care less, and it's very heartbreaking.
I'm sure that would be.
Wow. All right. Since we coming to that, I want to jump in, but if we got any more questions, I'm gonna let Mela go, and I'm gonna jump in because
Right.
I'm trying to hold it.
I know.
I'm trying to hold it because you can go, Mela, if you need to.
Okay. All right. Thank
Okay.
you guys for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you so much, Mayla.
Thanks, sweetie, for coming
Thank.
on.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
Thank you.
Mhm, mhm.
Have
Yes.
a good evening.
You too.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna jump in because as a mom, my oldest daughter has autism, and I'm y'all know I'm about to keep it really 100.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of our single mothers, especially mothers that are in poverty level. I'm trying to watch my words. Um, we don't get those diagnoses in certain areas. I know I didn't.
Mhm.
So before I got married, I was just a poor black single mother, and
Uh-huh.
and my daughter, my oldest daughter, she was like right on the line of delay, but right at that line, she will walk. Right at that line,
Wow.
yeah. And so I kept pushing because I was just that type of mother. I kept pushing. She was extra sensitive to sound, but as a mother in the hood and in church, you just always demons, and that's just what we do, y'all. And
That's
I'm
what
not
you
I'm
do.
not bashing. I'm telling
Right.
you my
Right.
experience. And
Right.
so she will holler out in service. Now that I know I have a daughter on the spectrum as a baby, she can't take it because she has a sensory sensitivity. And can you imagine apostolic Pentecostal? Y'all know how we used to get down. And she would yell out. And now that I know she was overstimulated.
Yeah. Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
I'm gonna go into that to help our parents to understand what I'm saying because with the stemming and the movement, we need to know. And we just can't say, oh, I'm gonna pray about it. We're gonna fast about it. We're gonna lay hands. I'm gonna take them up to the bishop. I'm gonna take them up to the rabbi.
Hmm.
And we
Hmm.
we have a responsibility
That's right.
part to play in healing.
Absolutely.
Okay. And just like with me, I kept pushing. We put her in occupational therapy, but the therapist was like, but she's very high functioning, but like Mela said, she will fool you until you sit down and start talking. And with
Mhm.
with her, she's very withdrawn. It's not that she do not want to socialize, she very much wants to. But
Yes.
because of the way her executive function and her
Mhm.
skill set is, she just can't. And so you would have to, and I recommend her even as an adult. She will be 30. It's time for you to kind of like go out and be more social. So she has. So we're gonna get to that because as
Okay. Good.
Prophetess Deborah was talking, it gets better sometimes over time, especially with the higher functioning to mid functioning. It does get better. So if we having teens, and I'm going to lead into that, teens and autism, okay.
Mhm.
And I want to help parents out because just like today, I knew this young boy had ADD. He was so overstimulated by the time we went to recess and came back, and all they did was yell and yell. And I'm watching him, and he is escalated, but he is what we would call rambunctious. Now, all the boys is rambunctious, but all the
Right.
other boys knew how to calm down and chill out.
Right.
They kept telling him, but he couldn't. And I kept watching him, and I said, okay, we're dealing with someone, right, who has ADD,
Mhm.
and they just go yell and scream at him and say, you. And I'm like, okay. So I have personal opinions, strong opinions about our children that have special needs in public schools. But I'm gonna keep that to the next to the next one because if they not teaching the children without special needs and how they're treating the children without special needs, this
Right.
is what they do it to the children with special needs. And I know,
Mhm.
okay, but I'm not going to set off a war just yet. I want to help our parents just a little bit, especially if you already know that your teen is autistic. They're going to be teenagers, so I want parents to realize that. Do not say their autism is getting worse. Don't say that. They teens. And so
Right.
they
Right.
they are maturing. Some mature just a little bit slower because of the executive function, those skill sets that they, don't really have. So they may mature just a little slower, but statistically, they are having their periods around the same time. It could be later, but typically they are maturing, breasts and so on. They're maturing, just like the other children, but this is about, it's more social, right? It's more social, and it comes with other things. So it's such a broad spectrum. That's why we can't cover it all tonight. So
Yeah.
if your child is pulling away, and you got to watch this because I just did a homeschool video telling our children, I mean, our parents, watch for these fine and gross motor skills. The school don't care, but you should care. And like 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, maybe we could start at 2 and 3 now, but that's the age where you need to be making sure that they can hold the pencil, because my oldest daughter could not,
Okay.
and they would baby her, and they would say, and she was so, oh, she's so cute, she's so tiny, she's so, and they would sit her in the lap and make her hold a pencil, and I'd be so mad because I'm like, even with my other son that has a walking disability, you're gonna do for yourself. That's just how I am. You're gonna learn. So I would argue with the teacher, stop doing that. She needs to learn. She couldn't zip her coat, so they will all zip her coat and take care of her. Right? She was just the cutest little thing. They were handicapping her, and when I realized that she
Right.
could, she just needed more instruction. She needed repetitive instruction. So
Yeah.
when you see signs like that, seriously, and you know that they are the only ones in their class that can't zip their coat, they can't,
Yeah. Zip the
tie your shoe, and you in the third, fourth grade, you need to be
right.
paying attention to these fine, and gross motor skills. So they may pull away from physical touch, babies. They cannot take loud noises because it's a sensory, sensitivity that they're having. They even don't like certain clothing because it's a sensory thing. It's not that, oh, because some of us do have, just preferences, but you should know when it goes beyond a preference to, they are wilding out if you put this type of fabric on them, right? So you just need to pay attention as a parent. They may need to move constantly, and this is what I've learned. So you see, ASD children, they touching stuff, right? You see that, they touching you, they stimming, they moving back and forth. What we have to realize is that they are trying to self-regulate. They are trying to keep that executive function regulated, because you have sensitivity where they can't feel anything. So because they cannot feel anything, they're touching to get that sensory touch.
Mm.
They're
Mm.
stimming to get that sensory.
Okay.
They touching
Okay.
fabric to get that sensory. For those that are hypo,
Right.
low sensitivity or no sensitivity at all. So you have
Sensitivity.
hyper, and then you have hypo. So that will
Oh.
help us. You can't sit still. I don't know why he can't sit. He's trying to self-regulate, or she is
Trying
trying
to.
to
Yeah,
self-regulate.
exactly.
This is an executive,
Okay.
function. What else? So they're gonna have that desire to find stimuli. So you're just gonna have to let them, because they trying to, be present. They're trying to be present. Um, as a parent, with that being said, you can have accommodations at work, because my daughter now works for the military, and she's with a fantastic program, honey. She get benefits. She got she got retirement. you know, she
I know.
she living her best life. Um,
Angelique is doing it.
and we're like, I look, I applied one time because I'm like, let me in on this. Um, raises, just everything. So she's really, with a good program. However, in high school, because she was high functioning. And I would fight so much with them because Angelique is a pretty girl. And so they wasn't interested in helping her because she was high functioning. They were interested in her being the model. They wanted to put her picture on their big poster at the high school for special needs. I said, listen, I'm not that type of mama. That's not gonna benefit her. And do you know, I fought a lot with the social workers and stuff. So do you know they did not you need to make sure that they are transitioning them into adulthood, meaning that they are supposed to be put in a program before they get out of high school. And this is with any special need, right? Not just autism, with any special need, to be integrated into the community. So they're going to have things like workforce. You know, that's an old school term, but they are going to be prepared to go to work, and they're supposed to be connected with the community programs that help the population, depending on what they have, Down syndrome, you know, autism, whatever it is. There are like McDonald's, not every chain, but some McDonald's. I remember when I was working with the special need population, and he had Down syndrome. He had got a job at McDonald's, and we
That's
paid
right.
to check on
I remember going
Yeah,
into
yeah,
McDonald's and there
yeah.
being
They
special
do.
needs
They
people,
require
and
them.
they
Yeah.
were
good
workers.
A
work.
lot of places do. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them. So moms and dads, you know, don't be afraid, because we went in there and he said, "Listen, I do not have time to talk. I'm at work." He made us get out. I'm
And
serious.
they're dedicated. They're very dedicated.
Dedicated. I mean, dedicated.
Right.
So moms and dads, as Layla was saying, you know, I got strong opinions about that. Yes, she is absolutely right. Moms and dads, you do hinder your child because you just don't know what to do. You feel guilty, all of that. I understand. Um,
Or they
yes,
baby them and have the child is walking
right,
around doing
right,
anything and
everything.
everything they want to
Yep,
do. And it's like, wait a minute, they behind, okay, they autistic, but
and
they
they
behind
know
bad. I mean,
they
you
can be
know, you
disciplined.
need to be able to still spank
Yes,
them if they need their legs spanked, and or
discipline.
discipline them, because sometimes they are, yeah, unruly
That's
because
right.
their parents feel
Guilty.
guilty,
No, I
in
get it.
disciplining them, but you
I
still
get it. Dominique had sickle cell anemia, and I swear he couldn't be spanked. And my dad said, "Well, I tell you what, he gonna embarrass you. I would spank him." And one day Dominique embarrassed me because back then sickle cell anemia. Let me tell y'all what they did, because the black community, y'all got to hear this, because this is what they do to us. They sat me in a room, put a video on, and what it told me was, by the time your baby turned 5, basically they're gonna pass away. And it was so horrible. And they took me out. They said, "Did you understand?" And I did. So I didn't think he needed to be disciplined, because I'm like, only got 5 years with him, or he got sickle cell, it might hurt him, send him into crisis. But they said, and he was popping him with that pencil on his hand, and Dominique didn't break. And one day I had to tear his little behind up because he had a fit. I had to drag him all across the street, walking back up to the apartment. And so we have to understand that even special needs children, I dealt with someone with pica. So she would purposely do things, and I know she had pica, but she would purposely do things like swallow pens and paper clips. That was her thing, to go to the doctor. Like that she getting out that house. And sometimes I think it's just to do that, to have attention. Yes, they have these issues, and I'm not saying, but I know because I work with them. They're not some of them are low functioning, you know, the old school term was mental retardation. I know we don't say that, but yeah, but that's
that's
what
what
you know, that's
right.
really what it is, but we don't say those words. But
Mentally challenged.
mentally challenged. But let me tell you something. Y'all y'all better discipline y'all children, because one of them was very low functioning. But let me tell you something. When we wanted him to do something, you know how we got him to do something? We put on that gospel music because his mother was a Christian, and she prayed and listened to gospel music. And we would put that on, and he would be cooperative. So even when they're lower functioning, there is something that they will submit to. so that they can get what they need. They understand that they are an adult, and they got one of them that they was mad. They need to go to the grocery store. But you know, the workers, they was tired. They said, no, I'm grown and I need to go to the grocery store and I have my own money. All I need for you to do is take me to the grocery store. So, so I'm telling you, let these teens and babies be disciplined because they want their independence. So when you feel that their condition is getting worse, it's because they want to be quote unquote in the mainstream. So one suggestion is like teens, privacy. Well, routines. I'm heavy on routines. Autistic people, listen, do not get them off their routines. Their weakness is flexibility. you they not flexible people. They need a routine because I say this about children, period. Even this gentle parenting. Children, period, thrive in structure. They thrive in discipline. They feel safe. And you know how I know? Because I did it today. And the way that I did it, I told my class, you will not be able to go to the playground because I've been respectful. I've let you talk. You have free time. Now, if you don't be quiet, guess what we're going to do? Stand here all day. And that's going to be the consequence for your action. Discipline, structure. And you know what they told me? You one of the best teachers we ever had. And they had to stand there and be quiet until we left out. And they said, because I was polite and respectful, but I required structure and discipline. They thrive in discipline, y'all. They need
That's
structure. Go ahead.
and what you're saying is absolutely, I totally agree. And I believe it, well, I don't just believe, it is a fact that it must first begin at home,
Yeah.
and in school is one thing. And as we're here and we're talking to parents for the most part of how to raise, to have them functional and in a way where they're functional, where they can be independent.
Yes.
And so, as you're saying, have certain chores.
Yep.
This is, as y'all know, I raised a nephew with ADHD. And one of the factors, and I can go back to the early stages, but one of the main factors I was told, and it is a fact, that you put on a board certain things that has to be done throughout the day, their chores, their work, different things they do, and then have a reward system.
That's right.
You have it where they have to do, and you don't move from that.
That's right.
Because when you do, they become out of whack. You become, and your whole, now you got to start all over pretty much. You have to set a structure and then put it on the board. Even some may not read, but even for you
That's
to
right.
be on point and have it set, and then have certain reward. This is done, this reward, certain things, because reward system does work. I'm a witness to that. The reward system does work. Now the reward system shouldn't be giving them candy and
Don't do
sugar
that.
and everything, but certain things. And
Mhm.
then if they don't get the reward. And then there are times when, I know, like y'all talk about gentle parenting and everything. I mean, I was that strict kind of mother and different things, but I find every child discipline, even back then, discipline
Yeah.
don't always work with
Yeah.
a spanking.
Yeah.
It's take certain things from them
Yes.
that really hurts, that really that generates something, where they know I can't do this, I
Yep.
won't. And so you're bringing them in a way that, as you said, Christina, structure and it has to be enforced. And you have to, and everyone in that household has to be a part of that. And you got to work as a team.
Yes.
You can't have one over, you got to work together,
Yes.
because you want to have a well balanced, because regardless of what their needs may be, they can live functional lives,
Right.
really
That's right.
well balanced functional lives when there is structure and it's followed through and in love. Now don't now you gotta, reinforce it with love on them, and let them know that you love them, because sometimes that's something that lacks in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the homes. It's like, oh, I love them, but how do you show them?
Right.
Just telling them what to do. Hug. A hug means a lot. And just saying I love you to
Right.
make them feel good that I'm not different, I'm loved, because anybody who knows that they're loved, no matter, and I don't care how they may be on the spectrum, every individual know when they're loved, and
Yes.
that's important.
Yes, yes, yes. So, I'm not gonna go too much further, but that right there for parents, what we are saying is key because we're saying teens and we're gonna get to the adults when we segue
Right.
into the young adults because and with teens, I don't know if anybody want to jump in with that. Please prepare um before they be get into puberty. Not remember they not they don't like surprises.
Right.
So if you are not talking to your special needs child before puberty hits, you're gonna have a
Mm,
whole mess on your hands when
mm,
puberty hits. They are going to go ballistic over small things and they
mm.
will blurt it out. So teaching behavior if you can. I know you can. I'm sorry, but they are blunt. They have no chaser, and they will talk about their period at the lunch table. They just,
Right.
like, blood was coming out of my vagina. You be like, whoa, whoa,
Right. Right. Right.
and
Right.
some of them are very
So that's
sexual.
whoa.
They're some of
yeah.
them have sexual
Heightened,
drives. It's
heightened.
not a normal thing. That's
That's right.
something that has to be,
Uh,
and don't think of it being
Yeah.
strange. That's just their body,
yeah.
Right.
and they have to know, even, be taught how to handle that, and
Mm.
even their feelings and everything. And that doesn't come where, oh, well, they must have been abused in some kind of way. No, that's just sometimes, because you
Mm.
know what, I'm gonna bring that even to an adult. Those sometimes you have those, because I took care of mother-in-law with and I hate to mention, but family member, I'll say, with dementia,
Mhm.
having Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
and you find that same thing even in them sometimes.
Yes.
So it's from that extreme to the spectrum, from as young, and it's just something that just goes on,
Yeah. Yeah.
that, as a child, you even in that, you
Hmm.
can kind of train them and, and teach them.
It's true. I mean, it's some wild
I just
stories.
wanted to bring that out,
That's so
because
I
that is a fact.
And
and
I
they
think it's
And that
and
they'll even and why I say that is because, I mean, we're out here and we're being blunt. They'll start doing masturbation out
yes in
publicly,
public.
and
That's
they
right.
don't know. They
That's
don't even
right.
know. That's
know any
why they
better.
have to be taught
That's
and
why you
trained.
have to deal with it. Right.
Y'all, I don't know how else to be because I used to be a very timid person and that didn't really get me nowhere and nobody else. And not that I'm really blunt or just, overly, but like when it comes to these things, I'm very passionate about children and elders. You want to get me
Me too. Yeah.
fired up, mess with the children and the elders.
Yeah.
And so as a young single mother growing up just watching, and it's a lot of I love y'all, right? But it's a lot of us adults that are on the spectrum that haven't said anything, and you just wasn't diagnosed. So now
Mhm.
we have what we would call 2 and 3 generations because now your grandmother did the same thing and never did say anything, and now you are doing the same thing and your children are. So because we
Right.
are believers in the Bible, we understand generational curses, but we don't want to over spiritualize everything. There's a part we have to play and look at it. So it's adults on the spectrum who don't haven't got diagnosed, and now they have children on the spectrum, and so they probably are overstimulated, and just don't know what.
Very much so.
And we need to have these conversations, and we're going to continue to have these conversations because as leaders of assemblies and churches, we can tell. I know I can. I just don't
Yeah,
say that.
you can.
I can
Yes,
tell who
absolutely.
has a special need, not just autism, who has
Mhm.
learning disabilities.
Absolutely.
I can tell, and I don't
Mhm.
judge. I try to be a person that's open. So by the time you come to me, I already know, and I'm glad that you're coming to somebody to say, hey, I just listen, I cannot comprehend really well. And it's not that you're not intelligent. It's just that you haven't been diagnosed, and when you're not diagnosed, no one can help you to learn the way that you can learn because
There you go.
all people can learn. You
There
just
you
may be different, but nobody has ever taught you. And y'all know, people that know me, I go in about all of these new teachers. And again, as a teacher, over 40, I bet it's 60% of us cannot read at grade level. So you mean to tell me now you can wield the Bible and
go.
understand it in all of its glory and start teaching it to people when you couldn't even read at sixth grade level when you was in high school?
Wow.
And we
Mm.
have to be honest about that. And so we are sitting up under people, who have learning disabilities and never got any help. And now they have, arrived in faith, and people have made them feel good. Yeah, you got a calling on your life, and still have not studied and say, you know what, I have a calling, but let me go back and learn how to read.
Absolutely.
Let
Absolutely.
me go back.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have a
And
someone
some
who
can.
Hadassah Joseph.
Yes.
Welcome, welcome. And we do want to welcome those who are watching in with us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and absolutely it's true, Hadassah, what you're saying, third and fourth
Mm-hmm.
generation, if
Yep.
not taken care of. And that
That's right.
is what we are seeing.
Okay.
And
And it
Mm-hmm.
has to be addressed. And these are things that we can't just be close our eyes to it or
Yes.
turn away, because they're suffering and they need help. And now you're talking to third, fourth generations. Now it's the children, and they're growing up. But how can the parent help? Because the parent needs help themselves.
true.
I'm seeing that. I
True.
absolutely seeing that, where the parents, they're having children, having multiple children, and they themselves need
Need help.
need help. So if it's a parent, even a grandparent per se, that
Yes.
are on the spectrum and
Mm-hmm.
have not been diagnosed and are not getting the proper help. Now you have the third, fourth generation coming up,
Mm-hmm.
that how can they take to look, because it hasn't been done to them, and they're all right. So what do we do in that aspect? This is real. This is real, and this is in churches, this is in communities. We see it
Everywhere.
every day.
Everywhere.
Nobody says anything
And the
you
thing of it
know
is, we wait. We have become a very reactive
Yes.
society,
Yes.
opposed to being proactive. We wait until something. I mean, there's big red flags,
Mm-hmm.
but we, think like we can pray it away,
Yeah.
or we can go run around the church 3 times, or we can jump up and down and spin around and
Mm-hmm.
we're doing all of. And look, I am a firm believer that the Most High, that Father Yahweh can do anything, and that He is the great healer, and
Yes.
that He can
deliverer.
heal. He is the deliverer. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But until that time, until he does it, he has given the wisdom to the doctors to
Yes.
be able to help
Professionals.
and professionals to be able to help us deal with these situations. Because bottom line, y'all, if you read Deuteronomy 28, we see all of these conditions and all of the situations. And Father Yahweh said, I will visit the sins of the fathers to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Now you might say, oh, but I don't hate God, or my grandmother didn't hate God. I don't believe my grandfather, they love God. They love God. But God is the one who says what love is.
That's
And
right.
how
Y'all
he
says it. Y'all
accepts.
says it.
So if we walk outside of his covenant, then we open our life and our generations to these generational curses. So then they begin to come down the bloodline. They visit the bloodline and they begin to go down these bloodlines. So we really have to stop and think about also the we were discussing this the other night, and I can think back approximately maybe 40 to 50 years that they have been the research community, government agencies. We found out through the Tuskegee, remember the
Yeah.
Tuskegee Project,
Mm-hmm.
where they allowed all those men, black men, to have syphilis, and they just to watch them go through the stages until they died, and just give them placebos so that telling them we're giving you medication, but what they're actually doing is researching. So that Tuskegee Project happened many years ago. What was that? The 40s? It was around the time,
Yeah, yeah.
30s and 40s, during the time of World War II. That's what
To
I'm saying.
World War II.
We have to look back that far and say there's even been things that have been done to our communities that we have to just open up our eyes and say that we need to understand what has happened. So when we if they use synthetic things on you,
Yep.
you may need that synthetic medication in order to deal with that situation. So we need to, and every situation is not cookie cutter.
Right.
We can't do that. So you get a lot of people in the church that say, oh, I ain't going to take that medication. I'm not going to take that medication. And some of them not here today because they wouldn't take the medication. You know what I'm saying? We take it until Father Yahweh comes back, delivers his people, and takes us to that place of promise and puts us in that position of prominence again. But right now we're not there yet, y'all. We're not there yet.
Now,
So we have to stop with the idea of don't take medication. It's all synthetic. Don't give your child medication. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't. And you have a lot of people running around doing this, but there are different circumstances. So we really need to be in prayer. We need to do what is right and logical on the biological point of it, and just stop sitting around listening to people telling you that you don't have faith. That's why your child is sick. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Stop it. We need to stop doing it. And many of them are in toxic environments within our spiritual community.
within the spiritual community.
They are not helping in that area of when our children have special needs. Ain't nothing wrong with that boy. Nothing that a good beating won't get him relief. No, a beating is not going to solve everything.
Woo.
It's not going to solve everything. We just have to be more diligent
Mm.
in what we are doing, and especially within our communities and in our spiritual communities. There's issues in
Lot,
that.
lot, and we see the
And
comment. Oh, go ahead,
yes,
Prophet.
no. If you wanted to answer, because I wanted to mention something, but no, yeah. Also, Hadassah is saying we need to break the
Mhm.
stigma through the platforms like this and be proactive. And
Mhm.
that was something that I just wanted to point
Mhm.
out is,
Yes.
as we're speaking, giving solutions,
Yeah.
services
So
that they,
strong.
really digging in and depending on, because you can't just
Right.
services, it depends on where one lives at,
Right.
and what they provide and what services, and then resources and assessments. And the wonderful thing is, as we have Hadassah here, who is on the line, who is a professional, and
Mhm.
we have others, praise be the Most High, that now we have a lot of professionals who
Yes.
Right.
are in a lot of
Right.
the churches, in the assemblies,
Yes. Yes.
who can, just as Christina was saying, and we all, you can see it, and certain, you see
Yeah.
when different ones need, and it's just not spoken, but it needs to be,
It gotta
you
be.
know
Mhm.
and having certain professionals within the in our communities, and even in our assemblies,
Mhm.
that, and it's a wonderful thing, is because it's
Right.
the now we can start
Yes.
Absolutely.
on these
Yes.
things, but sometimes we have to adjust to
Absolutely.
the leaderships, and not be in denial, because one thing, as we're talking about the children, and talking about adolescents, talking about teenagers and so forth. Now, what if you have those of children and teenagers who are, are not on the spectrum,
Mhm.
but their parents and their grandparents are? What do
Yes.
you understand what I'm
Right.
saying? Because
Right.
now they're in a prison, and all of them are in a form of
Yes.
bondage.
There you
And one
Yes.
thing the Most High said, it says, who the Son set free is what? Free
go.
indeed. If you are dealing with mental illness, or dealing with any type of challenging, or within the spectrum, and it's not being addressed,
Right.
Mhm.
and you're just thinking that you are right,
Yep.
and you're messed up, because a lot of this is, if you're not getting the right medications, if
Right.
you're
Right.
not being serviced, if you're not getting the right assessments,
Yes.
then you have turmoil going on. It's like you're in hell. You
Yes.
Right.
could be in an
Right.
assembly, but you're in hell.
Hell. Right.
And these got to be addressed, because we
Right.
are, the Most
So
High came to what? Even to heal the whole man.
A
yes,
whole.
The
absolutely.
whole man. That means
Absolutely.
spiritually, not just spiritually, psychologically, emotionally,
Spiritual,
physically, in
emotional,
every
all of it.
aspect. And
Right.
these are things that has to be addressed in our assemblies, in our
Yes.
communities,
Absolutely.
and we understand the system, but it must first begin with us, in our household, in our
Right.
community, and in our assemblies, because this is where they need to, because they're walking around as walking time bombs, and there's
Yes.
so much toxicity
Mm-hmm.
that it's
Mm.
horrible. And how are we helping if we taking a blind eye, or
Yeah.
we see it and it's
Well,
just
we're
that
not.
we don't speak about
And,
it,
and we're
we
not.
don't
And we're
address it?
and
It's
we're
got
not.
to be addressed.
And
But
we're
in
not.
love, we can do it in
Yeah.
love,
Love.
because
Love.
that
And
is what love
you.
is. Love is what love do. What are we
Absolutely.
doing?
Right. And there was a situation with a family member of mine that was going through, and found out after she went and had, I mean, just could come to church and have big outbursts. And we just thought, oh my God, I mean, what is going on? And I remember as we were, I noticed that she began to kind of calm down, and she would come to church and she would be okay. And in a conversation she and I had, she said, I found out that I had a hormonal imbalance.
Mm. Mm.
That was it. She said, I started
Sometimes it
taking,
could
I
be
went
as
to the
simple as
doctor.
that.
I went and started taking medication. And she was like, I'm fine. She said, Vita, but I have to make sure I take my medication.
That's right.
And she was talking about another family member. And she said that person needs to go and be on medication, but nobody could get them to go because the person didn't feel like there was anything wrong with them.
Mm-hmm.
But this young lady, I mean, she was just really, and I mean, because we couldn't figure out what was going on. But everybody's sitting around, oh, well, you know how she come in here, she's crazy. She's just crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy. They're crazy. You need to pray for them. Bring them up here and let them. Well, okay. Anoint them and pray for them.
Right.
And then give them some information on the person who I know that is a specialist in this area that will be able to help you. You probably need to go and get tested. And I was so grateful that that she went and said that's all it was. She said, if I stay on my medication, I'm good. She said, but it's a hormonal imbalance. My body is not producing a hormone that I need. So it's like everything just goes out of whack. And I start acting violent and, just, yelling out and speaking out. She said, but that's all that it was. Now, I mean, and something that simplistic for her to go and find her hormones out of whack.
Right.
But everybody's sitting up in the church saying,
she got a demon. She got a demon. Y'all know how we do.
Right. These things, we need to stop. We need to stop. And I'm so thankful for Father putting it in the hearts of the people who do believe in him and do have a love for the Most High, that they are going into these professional positions because we need them.
We need them.
We're going into the kingdom. In the kingdom, there's all kind of needs. You're going to need firemen. You're going to need police.
And that's ministries in itself. That's ministries in itself. Everybody think ministry is just open up. These are all ministries to bring healing to the sick,
Ministries of help.
Yeah.
What
help.
That help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So and that's so important.
And I want the health professionals or to stand up, because I didn't realize how many professionals are sitting in assemblies and congregations and churches, and I'm like, so why y'all ain't saying nothing, and it's because they know the leadership don't want them to say nothing. And I'm like, no, it's time. It is time.
It's time.
You gotta stand up.
Yeah.
Reach out to us at the Righteous View. We're not the only platform, but we trying to help because we're also part of the mental wellness group, and I'm heavy on trauma, and it causes mental health as well. And sometimes it's everything. Like we talk about food, like you said, synthetic. You eat synthetic food. You taking synthetic just things all in your life, and now you want to take a natural substance like black seed oil, and because you're so full of synthetic garbage that has got your system out of whack, you want the black seed oil to now cure you, but that takes time with other natural things that you probably need. And so
you have to go through a tea detox.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I think about what Mashiach said. Some things only come up by prayer and fasting fasting is a way of detoxing.
Is a way
Sometimes
of
we just gotta
detoxing.
detox before we can go try eating all this other, doing all of these things. Sometimes
Yes.
just cut out everything.
Everything.
Right.
That's what I
Just go
do.
on, you know,
That's what I
Right.
do.
distill water for a little while. You know,
Yes, and
that's
that's what I
I'm
do
thinking
for
for me, because that's, you know.
yeah. For IBS, like I'm not taking no medication for IBS. I fast because y'all, we gonna get to that. But for us that's going through perimenopause and menopause, sometimes after your menstruation, your gut gets out of whack because your hormones is off anyway. Don't ask me why I'm still menstruating
Yes.
after 50. That is so crazy to me. But and so my gut is hurting, you know.
Right.
And so I fast for 3 days. I don't take medication. I'm like, my hormones out of whack, my system out of whack. Let me fast. I may have
Fast.
ate something right before my cycle that my body was like, now you getting too old for that. You know better than that. And I will fast and reset my system. And
Reset
I
it.
start with liquids and I go slow. I don't eat
Right.
heavy things that's hard to digest. And my body may be saying it's time to give certain foods up because you are entering the
And sometimes you have to do that.
yeah,
You
Sometimes
have to do that. You
you
do. You do.
and
yeah,
say,
So
you
it
know,
takes discipline, and
about
this
it.
is one of the fruit of the ruach. You know that. You know
Right.
we have to. Yeah.
But that's one thing that we don't want to do. And you see that within, especially within our I hate to use the word religious, but spiritual communities is that discipline. And
yes,
for some reason, we don't want to be disciplined. You know, we want to just have it your way. You know, we always want to be Burger King. You know, just have it your way, ever whatever I want. You know, and then we want the Most High to accept us anyway that we come and present ourselves to Him. But I mean, we really have to sit down and think about as being adults.
yes,
We have to do adult things.
yes.
That's just like when my daughter would call me and she was in college and a situation would arise and I said, Lori, you're going to have to put on your big girl panties and deal with it. That would be my phrase. Sometimes you got to just go ahead
Yeah.
and do what you need to do.
Yes,
We are can be such an undisciplined,
yes,
even
It
though
is true. It's
say
true.
that we are of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or we are spiritual beings, that sometimes we can be very undisciplined
mhm,
in our attempt at walking out, you know, just regular life.
yeah,
Um, so
It's true. It's true.
we really have to get to a place where we understand, and we need to talk about that. Probably needs to be one of the segments too, where we talk about, you know, it's something in the Hebrew, it's called the laws of Nidah, but just regular. It's the laws or regulations surrounding a woman and her menstruation when she is married.
yeah,
Um, where you have in our spiritual communities where they say do whatever you want to do. The bed is undefiled. Know what the Bible is saying. Don't defile the marriage bed. That's what it's saying.
hmm,
And the marriage bed is not you just do whatever you want to do in the marriage bed. It
hmm.
says don't defile the marriage bed
That's right.
by doing things you should not be doing. And then your wife ends up with all kinds of problems: cervical cancer, endometriosis, yeast infection after yeast
Come
infection,
on, come on.
all of these problems. And then you want her to have healthy babies for you. You want her to be on point when she's, you know, when your needs need to be met. All of that. And it's because just being undisciplined. Just
Uh-oh.
being undisciplined, because those guidelines for
Woo.
a woman who is married and being having those set guidelines around marriage and around the wintertime when a woman is mensing is for your health.
Yes.
It's for your health. Yeah.
body and for your health. And it's also so that your husband can be disciplined. He's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
supposed to be walking around biting everything he want to bite and doing whatever he want to do whenever he want to do it. And
Yeah.
those are for him to be disciplined also.
Yeah.
So I mean, Father
And
Yahweh
yeah.
doesn't
I'm
have
sorry. Go ahead.
just doing anything, but
Yeah.
he has a set of rules and regulations for his kingdom, and it's not to harm us and hurt us, but it's so that, like Yeshua, Jesus said, that we would have life and have
And
it
have it
more.
more abundantly.
So if your wife,
Exactly.
you're doing what you're supposed to be doing concerning your wife's body, and I don't know how in the world I got on this, then you will have life and have that, because she'll be happy and
Yeah.
she won't be sick and she won't be ailing, and you will have healthy children, and you yourself will be healthy. You'll have a healthy relationship that's physical, mental, and spiritual. You can't have one without the other. Father is not raising up a nation of undisciplined men.
That's right.
And
But
that's
that's
with everything.
Mhm.
Hmm.
absolutely,
Yeah. And that's
absolutely,
with everything, even as we're talking about the children and
Mhm.
talking about our
absolutely.
teenagers and
Yes.
talking about all
Undisciplined.
aspects of what we're talking about. It all
Correct.
surrounded around discipline, and there
Discipline.
is an order, and that
Absolutely.
things have to be done
Absolutely.
in the
Absolutely.
right manner. As we said,
Absolutely.
even with our children and with our young adults, young teenagers and everything,
Mhm.
structure. That's all a part of discipline.
Absolutely.
And as
Absolutely.
we as parents, you know, some people, oh well, they just getting on my nerves, or you just let them do what they want to do. The Most High allowed you to bring them into what? This world.
Mhm.
Am I right?
That's
They're
right.
your responsibility.
Yeah.
They're not the teachers, they're not the schools, they're your responsibility. You are to guide that child,
Absolutely.
throughout life. We know about the curses. We know, well, then listen, then you got to take charge of what's there, but still, in essence, and no matter what, they're your responsibility. You
Responsibility.
have to,
Absolutely.
make sure you get the proper things that they need, whether it
Right.
be physically, mentally, emotionally,
Right.
spiritually, in every aspect. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
In all aspects, as we're talking, you can't put the burden on other people. You got to
Right.
watch. And if you see, as we were talking about, looking at start when they're very young, you
Mhm.
see certain things that they need, or things is just not right, it's not adding up. Don't go into denial. Don't
Yeah.
go into, oh well, I pray and they'll go away. No.
Right.
Be proactive, you
Proactive.
know,
Absolutely.
proactive to get what they need, because you are the one, they're in your care.
That's
That's
right.
right.
They're in
Absolutely.
your care until they are adults. That's why we see, as we just talked about, adults in the spectrum who have not been diagnosed, because it's been going from generation to generation to generation, and everybody's turning their head and
Mhm.
nobody's paying attention, because everybody is about me.
That's
Parents
right.
about me.
Right.
That's
Oh,
right.
what I need.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's
Right.
helping me, but you got to be that first response. And then, yes, it does take a village.
Yeah.
And that's why we can't turn our heads.
That's right.
We got to be there to help one another, because it does take all of us to help. And everything you said, Avia, even with in the marriage bed and everything is about
Right.
discipline in every area.
Every.
I'll say I'll
Absolutely.
fall in short, but what truth is what it is.
That's right.
And
That's
listen, as you said, you told Lori, you know what? Put on my big girl panties and be about it. Don't talk about it, but be about it.
That's right.
Hey, it
I
is
mean,
what
I'm
it
telling you.
is.
yeah.
That's
It
right.
is. It is. I think Prophet she'd have summed it. She'd have summed it up. I was like, well, but I want to say that as I guess we're gonna get ready to close. I'm getting emotional. So because I can feel, I just can feel stuff is stirring. I'm stirring up, and we're gonna revisit this because we got to get to
We
the
definitely
notes
need
and the
to.
things.
Um, because what you were saying is true. As we were talking about having this session, we realized we're going to have more than just one. So this is definitely going to be a series because we need to get in. So I know I missed my part, and I did research on
Yeah,
anxiety, them dealing with anxiety, them dealing with depression, because they're special needs doesn't mean that they won't
that's
deal
right.
with these things. They are still physical
Yes,
beings. So these things are still going to be there. They still even may deal with even I mean there's just so much there's so much that we really have not um taken the time to deal with, either because of so much misinformation or no
that's right.
information. And children, our special needs children, are
Hmm.
suffering because
That's
of
right.
it. And even as they grow up and become parents, they're
Yep.
suffering because now they're thinking, well, my mom and dad didn't deal with that, so I'm not dealing with it. I'm gonna do it just the same way that they did it. I'm not, but it's not helping.
Hmm.
So I would tell people in a minute. Sometimes you need to go sit on somebody's
It's
couch.
true. It's true.
Sometimes you need to
True.
go sit on somebody's couch. Sometimes you need to go and sit down and figure out what is going on. You may need to
Yes.
be on
Yes.
medication, but father, that's
I
just a
know.
whole nother.
It makes me emotional. And speaking of that, just taking a survey within our community, um, I have already put together an emotional regulation class for children.
Mm.
However, I have the curriculum. I put it together, got the worksheets. I just haven't said anything yet because we got PSOC coming up, and I'm trying to time it. But that's a must, as well as the mental wellness and trauma. But for our children, because you have to start as early as possible to teach them how to regulate what emotion is and how to
Absolutely.
regulate themselves and to speak out
Very
and to let you know. However, what I'm finding is that the
true.
adults are saying, well, you got to teach me first because I don't know about emotional regulation. So I'm trying to see how to teach the adults without, you know, saying it like a child. I'm trying to see which one we gonna do first because you got both of them just crying out at the same time. Um,
Right.
so
Right.
that's part of our
And
resources. That's
maybe it should be that we deal with the parents
okay.
first and then go to
Okay.
the children. Because if we can get the parents to the place of realizing or learning how to regulate themselves, we just think of, oh, you need anger
Right.
management, you know,
Right.
but some people
Yeah.
truly they they need they there's something that has
Hmm.
happened that's causing them to just go off kilter, where they're not able to
Yes.
control their emotions. Because one thing you cannot do is go around punching
Right.
people, hitting people, breaking things, doing things that like you're a child or
Hmm.
something. That needs to be dealt with, and that needs to be
Yeah.
regulated. So maybe it's that we should deal with the parent first and then swing back around, and then deal with
Yeah.
children.
And I hope the
Um,
parents are not ashamed to take because that's us. You might want to, but then when it comes to the class, y'all know how it is with the mental wellness group. People swear they won't help with mental wellness. We start talking about trauma and the way that we go about it. We're not playing no games. This ain't no face mask and bubble baths. This is
Right.
getting to the nitty
Right.
gritty because our community is scared of. And I know, like you said, Tuskegee experiments, so on and so on, but we're scared of the medical field and the psychiatry,
Mhm.
but we're going to have to shed that fear, and we're offering these type of resources and connections with professionals, so you're going to have to step out of that. I don't want nobody to know,
Mhm.
well, I don't think I need it, and you know you do. So we're going to pitch this to our community to see who really is following in the footsteps of Messiah, wanting to live life abundantly,
There
like
you go.
because I already know.
There you
But even if we get two or three adults, that start somewhere. So we're going to pitch this to the community. So if you're listening, if you're watching the replay, know that this is coming soon. I'm going to let Passover come through, but right after Passover, we're going to start promoting this. Maybe a 4-week class for the adults, 6 weeks for the children, because we can't. I don't like just getting on here talking like that. That ain't me.
Talking.
We gonna talk and then we gonna
Yes.
have a solution.
Solutions. Yeah, there has to be
There you go.
So
assessment and solutions is proactive. You gotta be
yes,
proactive.
proactive. So
Absolutely.
we're not just chatting on here. We are expecting our
Right.
community to come on board with the
Right.
resources and the professionals
There
and
you
get
go.
connected to it.
Absolutely.
Now, don't sit here and just
That's right.
listen. And because that's what we love to do, just take in information and not get out
Mhm.
and apply it to our lives.
Yeah, application
Absolutely.
is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what we want. We want those resources. So if you have resources, if you are a medical professional in whatever area, we want to know
We want
that
to,
so
yeah.
that we are able to put that information out to, and even if we can put together, I wouldn't mind beginning to put together a database of our people who are in certain
Okay.
areas and be able to go in there, and when people
Mm-hmm.
contact us, be able to go in there. You can call this
Okay.
person, you can call this
Okay.
number, you can call, you know what I'm saying?
Start the
So
process.
that we actually have the resources of people, but we do need our people to step
Please.
up. Come on out and open your mouth and say what you are. You have a medical degree in a particular area. Let us know so we can build that resource
Mm-hmm.
base. Because this is it's really, really important. If we don't have that, then we are just sitting here,
It's
you
yapping.
know. Oh,
We ain't like
we
the women on the View. They just be yicking and the yakking and the yakking and the yicking. No, no. I know y'all thought that. That ain't what this
No, we don't want to just do that. We want to have
is.
resources, solid resources where people will be able to get the
Build a
help
healthy
that they
communities. We
There
want
you go.
community,
absolutely,
Healthy.
and it
absolutely,
begins with us. And
absolutely,
this is just,
absolutely.
we must
There you
first,
go.
because sometimes it does begin where, coming to a place of making it known, and then
Mhm.
those who see the need, opening up, because you
Mhm.
gotta first come to a place of reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You
right.
have to realize I need help,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we're
That's right.
blinded on that. But as you hear certain things, do self-examinations, even not only
Absolutely.
as we said about your children, as we talked about your daughters and adolescents and everything.
Mhm.
We're not just talking. We started from the young, but we're going all the way up to post-menopause, every area.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
we will all,
Absolutely.
even as we sit here, self-examination. You know
Absolutely.
I'm not just talking. I gotta examine,
Yeah,
because if
that's
I
right.
need help, I can't be a help to anyone else if I'm not first examining myself, you know.
That's
You
right.
got a lot
That's
of
right.
people who are talking about helping others, healing, and you yet need healing yourself.
Yes.
Hello?
How
Am I
about that?
telling the truth or what? You need it yourself. How can I say, oh, I'm here to help, and and here I'm a big ball of mess of a confused mess myself.
Right. Myself. Right.
Yeah, I just want y'all to know.
That's what
Yeah,
happens. But that's what happens so many
yes.
times. And especially within, and I know, like I'm sounding like I'm beating on the believing and the spiritual community, but it's so
Yes.
bad. It's so bad, and we have looked past, looked over, looked
Yes.
around,
Yes.
looked down. We look every other way, but right at that big giant purple elephant with pink polka dots in the middle of the church, in the
You
middle
know what
of the
it's like
assembly.
we have said,
It's
and this is what many of us have grown, especially in our communities. I mean, I can't speak, some in dialysis, and other type of religions and so forth, but I have seen where everyone, they come in and they go to even churches or whatever to feel good. You feel good for a minute, they dance, they shout, they hear, oh, the word was good. But has it affected, is it started a change in you in to bring you into being that whole man?
right.
Oh, you delivered, but yet you're not. No, and we got to be real. To thine own self be true, and we
I
got to
don't sound be true. That's
being
right.
overlooking and this big mystery, this mystical kind of thing, and people are dying. We got people who are dying literally, not just spiritually, but physically and every aspect dying.
That's right.
And it's
That's right.
and I'm going to say, they say, oh well, it was just their time. I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe
I
it's just
don't either.
everybody's time.
Yeah.
I believe, even there in Hosea, it says that my people are destroyed. And I mean, I for the lack of knowledge, because they, reject the
Rejected
knowledge.
knowledge.
They reject
Right.
his Torah. And actually, yes, the Torah is based, but the Torah is not just spirit, it's spiritual, but it's for the whole man.
Yeah.
Right.
Just as you
It's
talked
very
about
much
it's for the whole man.
Absolutely.
It's spiritual, but
Absolutely.
it's to complete that man physically, emotionally, mentally, in
Absolutely.
every aspect. Because look, even if we go back to Torah, what did the Father say even to Israel? He said that, he made us what? He didn't call Israel because they were what? Because they were large, right?
Right.
Great. He said because you were the
No.
least. But he says that he called us to be what? A light to what? The nations. That they would see us and say,
Right.
wow,
Right.
a
Right.
wise and
Right.
understanding people.
Yeah.
They would
Yes.
aspire to follow after.
Yeah.
But
we don't see it.
But
It's
look.
the
But even past, let's not even talk Torah,
That's not.
because some folks don't believe that we're supposed to keep the commandments and the covenant of the Most High. Some people don't believe that. But let's just talk Bible. Period. So if you believe in the Bible, the word of God is forever and perpetual. And then he said that not one his word goes out from his mouth, and it shall not return to him void. And the bottom line says that if you turn away from him and his ways, he will turn away from you. So these are the things that we have to if you're in the church, there is something wrong even within the church when we're talking about these special needs and about these situations, because you have special need people that are sitting up in these churches and being told that they're not getting healing because they don't have enough faith.
Yep.
And it'll be just like this woman that I spoke about earlier. All it was that her going to the doctor and the doctor examining her and doing some investigation and find out blood work. Oh, your hormones are messed up. Your hormones are off. That's why you're having all of these. That wasn't spiritual. That was physical. She needed a something physical put in that she takes every day in the form of a pill in order to regulate her hormones. So when we discuss these situations and scenarios, I mean, even if a person is atheist and don't believe in God, don't believe in the Most High, they believe in the Big Bang, and there was a Big Bang in the universe, and then the sun came and all planets and all. Okay, if you believe in that, there is a relative and very tangible situation when a person is dealing with a physiological ailment, and we can't just spoof it away. We can't just spoof it away. We can't just act like it's not there. But the thing that I have to say about people who don't believe in the Most High, don't believe or are atheists, one thing they will do is go to the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's wrong with the spiritual community? They will go to the doctor. They'll say something is wrong with my child. Let me take him to the doctor.
Right.
They don't say something is wrong with my child. Let me take him to the preacher.
Well, ouch.
We have got to get to a place where we understand what is in the physical is in the physical, and our special need children are not. They are so many times misdiagnosed. All kinds of situations have happened because the doctors, the medical community is not infallible.
No, they're not infallible. Now, I'm glad you mentioned it too, because they make mistakes, and people they make them gods.
And they make them on diagnosing, misdiagnosing people all the time.
That's right.
So what we have to do is we have to become investigative researchers concerning our children. And you don't just accept anything when you see that thing, when you see that situation, when you see that your child is all of a sudden acting a little strange. He didn't do that before. She didn't do that before. What is going on with this? I see this child is not on the level that they're supposed to be on. Instead of closing our eyes and looking away and, say, well, this is the way that God wants them to be. Really? Really? Or are we going to take the time to put into our child that we need to take the time and do? And it doesn't matter that you're busy. It doesn't matter that you're a CFO of ABC company. You birthed that child, and that child is depending on you to help them and to be everything that he or she needs in order to grow into an Angelique. Angelique is amazing. She is an amazing young lady. And I mean, she will just, when you see her little smile, she is just so sweet. I couldn't believe she was old as she is when we first met her. But it's just so sweet And she will, if you drum up a conversation with her, she will talk. And and say, she won't have a whole long drawn out conversation, but she will. She is an amazing individual. And I'm gonna tell you, when Christina told me that that she was working, she worked at the military base, and she said, man, Angelique be keeping up with her 401k. Like, I know that. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, you do.
So tell me that it can't be
Come
done.
on now.
Tell me that a special needs person cannot live a life that is at some level of
Yes.
normalcy, and that they can go on. They get
Right.
married. They have children. I've seen. I mean, people who are. But we have to know that, and we have to help to foster these things so that they move in the right direction. But you got to be proactive. You can't sit around. What if Tina has sat around and act like, oh well, I guess that's the way that she's gonna be. Well, I can't. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what to do. We need to stop that. I don't know what to do. And we need to figure it out.
And it's scary because I remember I was pushing her to go out more. She just don't have a whole lot of friends. But she said, I'm gonna meet my friends at work and I'm going to the anime at the Crown Theater. And I was like, who going with her? Look, I was not for it. And she was like, I'm going with my coworkers. We gonna meet up there. And I had to let her. And I was like, she ain't gonna find her seat. She gonna have anxiety. It's gonna kick in, honey. She went and had a good time, found her seat with her coworkers, had bought stuff. And she go to WrestleMania by herself with her coworkers. She meet them up.
Angelique is amazing.
Let me stop.
She really is.
She is an amazing young woman.
So I sit down now. I know moms and dads, you got to get there, but you'll get there. You will. It's all right.
Absolutely.
It's all right. Well, y'all ready to end it? I know we're so passionate.
Yeah,
we can.
Give us. I'm gonna start with the email. Our email. All right. Email us with questions, comments, your bio. Email us at therighteousview01@gmail.com. Please, we still got the topics from the last time, but please continue to send topics that you feel will be beneficial. We're just taking our time moving, through the stages. If you have a degree or special training in a specific area related to women's health and would like to be a special guest, please again email us your bio and we will review it because we gotta check you out. Don't be coming over here with your little $5.
Don't start. No.
Well, you done paid for it.
Okay, let me be good. Let me be good. And reply back as soon as we can. Okay, Prophet.
If you have enjoyed this podcast, please tune in and tell a friend. Next week's topic is how rape, molestation, and incest have affected our communities. That's a serious thing. And what turning a blind eye perpetuates. Tune in. If you have put a comment in the chat that we didn't address, please email us and we will reply as soon as we can. Thank you.
So we want to thank Mayla again for coming on, being our professional panelist. Mayla, we love you so much and thank you so much for taking the time and coming right after work. That kind of job it's not, it can be very stressful, even though she loves it, but it can be stressful. So we're really grateful, Mayla, for you coming on and being our panelist this evening, bringing insight and the signs and what to look for and when to diagnose young children. So who may have those special needs. So we appreciate you taking that time and doing that and coming on for this very important topic. And we want to thank you, all our viewers, for coming on, and our listening audience and tuning in. We look forward to another edition of the Righteous View. So we want to say good evening, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.